please keep the energy high as we welcome our next speaker, Mr. Juan Campo. Besides being a proud father and a devoted husband, Juan is a seasoned mindset and behavior expert dedicated to empowering individuals and organizations for well-being and positive impact. He's a TEDx speaker, award-winning coach, and Amazon best-selling author. Juan has collaborated with leading training firms in Europe and has helped over 14,000 people worldwide. So, hi Juan, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Hey there, doing super good. Thank you so much. I was surprised. Nobody was there, and I thought something must be going on. Now I know what it is. Thanks for letting me know. Welcome, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. And yeah, how do we want to do this, Tripti, from now on?
Yes, so I don't want to take much of your time. The stage will be all yours, and you can go ahead with your presentation and your session.
Brilliant. Let's do it. Awesome. So here we are. Do not mind what you see right there in the timing. That was like about 20 minutes ago. Welcome, everybody. I see that a lot of people is already joining in the room. We have, what is it, more than 50, 100 people. It's a lot. Welcome, everyone. So my name is Juan, and I'm very excited to be sharing with you today some nice insights, challenges, questions that I'm sure they're going to make an impact in your professional career, but also in your life, that's for sure. And so to get this started, it's really all about a certain amount of skills that we're going to be touching on today in the very brief period of time that we have that is going to make your career more successful. But not just that. If you see in the title, it says sustainably successful. And we're going to see in a moment why that is important. But to get it started, let's start with a question for you. What would you tell me, or what would you think if I told you that whatever you do with the skills that will be presented today can make the difference between you earning $29,000 more or less at the end of any particular year? And this is on average, right? It sounds like a big claim, but this is research. And what I mean is that this is what people on average earn at the end of the year, more than people that don't have the skills that we're going to be discussing today. Now, what are those skills? Let's see. I'm curious about what you think, and I'm going to put a poll right here on our screen. I'm going to show the poll, and I'm asking you to take a couple of seconds and tell me which type of skill do you think is the one that actually makes the difference, that is the biggest predictor of success in career, but also in life. Is it cognitive intelligence, emotional intelligence, technical skills, or other skills you have in mind? Go ahead and vote. Tripti, if you can see if everything is well. I only see 5 votes so far. Is the mic okay? I see them coming now. All right. Let's give it maybe one more minute. Now they're coming. Great. As soon as I get the votes, I'm going to close the poll and we can see the results. I'm already very surprised because I've normally don't see people being so aware of what is the kind of skills that really makes a difference. And we see it here quite well. Brilliant. Okay, a couple more seconds. We have about 50 votes so far or something like that. All right, 10 more seconds and I'll close it and share with you the results. Okay, so what are the skills that are the highest predictor of success in career? We're going to close the poll, and here it goes. Let me know, Tripti, if everything is looking good. You should be able to see that. You guys are saying that 56% of you say that it's emotional intelligence. Great, thank you, Tripti, for letting me know. And you would be right. Well, that's actually quite surprising and refreshing, because up until not long ago, people would completely dismiss or be unaware that these emotional intelligence skills existed, right? And not for nothing now, these emotional intelligence skills are called not the soft skills anymore, but these are the new hard skills. not only because they may be difficult to develop, but also because they make the biggest impact, like we will see. Just going to hide this, go back to the presentation. There we go. And yes, in fact, like we said, it is the biggest predictor of performance in the workplace. It's also the strongest driver of leadership and personal excellence. And it explains about 60% of success in anyone's job, no matter what the hierarchy is of the industry is. That's how important it is. All right. And I would think it's about 20% the impact of cognitive intelligence skills, right? So more rational things instead of emotional. And this is not only for your performance, which later manifests, of course, in your opportunities, in how much money you earn, but it's also about your opportunities in your development of your career, right? Because about 90% of what moves people up the ladder is explained by emotional intelligence. That's how important it is. Now, if I take you back to the title that said sustainably successful career, this is also what I mean about. Because what is good? What is the good of killing yourself and working so many hours a day if in the next 2-3 years you're going to burn yourself out, you're going to fall into a depression or something like that? Because studies show that about 4 out of 5 people, European people, workers, are with moderate to high mental health risks. Again, all of them with symptoms of stress, anxiety, depression, and others. So that's why we will only we not only want to be successful, we want to be sustainably successful. Take it from someone who has done that firsthand, right? I've also suffered from mild depression and burnout because of this drive of not making things sustainable. So, what are these emotional intelligence skills that we are talking about? Well, in a nutshell, it is the ability to recognize, understand, and influence our own emotions and the emotions of others that we come across. And this is exactly what I've been doing in the last 10 to 15 years of my life, really helping professionals, leaders, and teams accelerate their inner development, that emotional intelligence, right? Bringing well being, contribution, collaboration to their teams, to their organizations. And I do that through a series of approaches and models and systems that I've created, some of which I talk about it in my book, The Mind Canvas. And like you see right there in that one image, it is all about making psychology and emotional intelligence simple and intuitive, right? But we're not going to go on my models, on my work today. Really keep it high level on that emotional intelligence to sell the picture, to sell the idea, right? And so emotional intelligence has 5 key areas or elements: self-awareness, self-regulation, self-motivation, empathy, and social skills. The first 3 are about us, and the last 2 are about others. So that's why sometimes they call it emotional intelligence, the first 3, and social intelligence, the last 2. But all of them together is the big picture of emotional intelligence. And with the time that we have today, we cannot go through all of them. So I've prepared really like a teaser, a little bit of storytelling, a little bit of data to really inspire you so that you can start your own journey into emotional intelligence. Shall we? Starting with the first one, which is self-awareness. And self-awareness has 2 parts: the internal self-awareness and the external self-awareness. The internal one is about recognizing and understanding your own emotions that most of the time we are completely oblivious of. And the external is about being aware of how we come across, of how our actions, emotions affect others and impact others, right? And if I would ask yourself, looking at that definition, would you consider yourself self-aware? Well, studies show that 95% of people think they are self-aware, just like about 95% of people think they're good drivers. But do you know how many people actually are self-aware? Well, Harvard Business Review says in their study that yes, it's about 10 to 15% only. And this gap that you see right here, this is the source of all conflict, problems, and basically the reason why we don't tap into the potential of teams and productivity and organization and creativity and innovation is because of this gap in perception. So if we have to stop right now this keynote, and I want you to leave with something, is don't think that you know the truth, right? You know what you know, and a big part of what you know, it is actually not based on all the facts. And so this is exactly what happened to me. Look, I'm 40 years old, and I'm going to open up a little bit here and recognize that for the first 36 years of my life, 36 out of 40, I had no clue. I thought I was a humble person, but it turned out that I was quite arrogant. Okay? Actually find it very interesting to say it right now in front of you. Um, but yeah, I was convinced I was humble, but only because of feedback in an environment where a lot of feedback was being given often enough, did I come to know about myself that I was quite arrogant. 37 years of your life. So that's the importance of knowing yourself. And even though internal self-awareness, which is the ability to look inside and become aware of these things and understand these things, that's more difficult to develop and it takes time. But it's the external self-awareness which we can tap into and use quite easily. It is all about asking others for feedback so that we can know ourselves. And it's about asking that feedback as often as you can, or as often as your ego would let you do it, would allow it. All right. And how do you do that? You ask questions as, hey, look, how do I come across? What qualities do I have? Do you see in me that are good for this relationship, this team, this company? And whatever they say, make sure you do more of this. It's working. Okay. You're going to spend less energy and have much more influence for yourself and for others. But also, look, what qualities or pitfalls do I have that are not contributing to the relationship, to the team, to the company? Okay. And make sure you do less of them. Now, if you activate the inner side of self awareness, you can go and explore what's driving this. Why am I reacting in these ways? Why do I come across as arrogant? And then that's when the beautiful journey begins. And that takes us to the second skill that I want to talk about today, self regulation. It's all about managing your impulses, your emotions, your reactions, right? That's the thing that people are seeing and reacting to and giving you feedback over. But like I put there as an extra, it's really about the thoughts and beliefs behind them, that if you change them, your emotions, your reaction, your impulses will change naturally. Okay. And continuing the story of the arrogance, look, for the first 36 years of my life, it was not the first time that I heard that feedback. I heard it many, many times. But why, for some reason, that feedback was not landing? Why I was not able to see, recognize, and also do something about the fact that I was arrogant? It was because I was not self regulating. What do I mean by this? Every time that someone would tell me, hey, that you come across as arrogant or that's quite arrogant, I would go immediately into reactive mode, either defensive or offensive. Defensive in the sense of trying to deny it, trying to avoid the topic, or offensive, putting the responsibility back on others. So I would feel ashamed about the feedback and I would tell them, no, it's not that I'm arrogant, it's that you have low self-esteem or something in those lines, which is quite arrogant to say, isn't it? Right? So it's my emotional reaction, my lack of self-awareness that was then not only not helping me to become aware, but also negating the truth and preventing me from growing and others from wanting to work with me better. And so it is the moment that I actually allowed the feedback to land and the change started to happen, when I asked myself a self-regulating question, the question of, how can I say that I'm not arrogant if I don't know the definition of arrogance? And so I went and Googled, and what happens is that, yeah, I was quite arrogant. That was the moment that everything started to change. It opened a Pandora's box of self-awareness and self-exploration. It allowed me to look deeper into myself and find all these kinds of blind spots and sharp edges that I never knew about. And so, what are things that you can do to start really closing the gap between what you think of you and what you really are being like and doing and coming across like? Well, you can basically question yourself, challenge and expand your perception about yourself, about the problems that you have, about relationships, about the situation in your company. And how do you do that? Well, asking yourself beautiful, open questions, such as, what don't I know? What am I missing here? How am I wrong? And how are the others right? And how else could I think about this? How do others think about this? The moment you expand your perception that way, you start seeing more of reality. You start being more aligned with what is. And every decision you make about how to think, how to feel, how to react, how to behave, how to influence is going to be much more close to what it should be or could be. And therefore, your influence is going to go higher and higher. That takes me to the next one, which is motivation. And it's intrinsic motivation, right? Because it's not about what others do so that you're motivated. It's not about your salary. It's not about your perks. If you work at Google and you can play ping pong or go to the beach for an hour or two, it's really about that inner drive that you create to perform and achieve no matter what happens outside, whether it's adversity, whether it's good conditions, whether you like the person you're working with or not. And how to create that motivation in a way that is sustainable, that you don't have to motivate yourself every day. It's, I call that personal leadership, right? It's a big concept. And I'm going to be giving you some nice resources at the end of this keynote. But personal leadership, think about it. Whenever a leader or a company starts, right, what is the first thing they set? They create a vision, the big why. Why do we exist? To create what? What is that vision of the world that we have that if we contribute to it, the world will be a better place? Is it better technology for people to be more productive? Is it eliminating poverty? You name it. And then you create your mission as a company saying, this is our mission, our purpose on how we are going to help achieve that vision that we have. Right? And that is the strategy. Vision, mission, goals is the strategy part. Then they also go and create the culture, which is what attracts you as well. Right? What are our values, our principles? How we go about fulfilling that mission and that vision. All of that is what leaders do and create so that all of us can go and work for these companies. In the same way, you can do this and probably should do this for yourself. That's what I call personal leadership, right? And so to tell you an example of this, the best company I've ever worked for, even though then it became a weird story, but the company, it really made the biggest impact. I enjoyed the most, that I learned the most, and that I'm most grateful for, was a company that I couldn't apply for because it was in the Netherlands. I was just arriving. I didn't have the language. I didn't have the network they were wanting for the job of consultant, training consultant. And also, I didn't have much experience as a trainer and facilitator. Yes, I did have as a coach, but it's not the same thing. And so still I called and I talked to human resources. And the only reason why they gave me the chance to apply and to go through the interview process without the Dutch, later on, they told me that this was the reason, is because of this self-motivation. When I called them and when I explained who I was and why I really wanted to work at that company, they were so impressed by the clarity that I had on why I wanted to work there, on the clarity on who I am, what I stand for, and how this job and this company will help me, will align with what I'm trying to do in the world. That would give them trust, confidence that this is a good match, that I'm not going to be there just for the money or for the short term. And so, again, is the motivation that helped them trust me, even though I didn't fulfill many of the important requirements. So how can you activate this for you? Again, lead yourself. Because if you don't lead yourself, if you don't know where you're going and how you want to go there, someone will be happy to tell you. Society, television, your company, your team, your manager, your colleagues that are influencing you on what to do and how to do it, just because you don't know what your principles are. So practice personal leadership by having a vision of yourself, of life, of your career in the long term. That is the why you do what you do, but also your mission. How am I going to create that vision or make it happen? Now, in my case, my vision is to make a more emotionally intelligent world, and so that there's more speed, more peace, more so that every species can thrive, let's say. And I know that my mission, looking at my qualities, my talents, skills, and my passions, is to provide facilitation through keynotes and training and coaching to elevate that emotional intelligence so that that world one day becomes more real. Now, also know your values and principles, right? What's important for you? For me, it's respect. For me, it's care, it's impact, it's awareness, it's personal development. So once you know these things, what you do, this is the most important part, is align everything you do, you decide, even your job searches, with your vision, your mission and values, this compass of yours. because it is only then that you're making actually the right decisions for you instead of for someone else, right? And when you do that, you come across as, yeah, as a leader of your own life. That creates trust, that creates enthusiasm on the other side, inspiration, and motivation to work together. It takes us to the last of the 5 that we're going to be covering today, which is empathy. And it's nothing more than understanding the emotions of others and relating to them. And even though this sounds like a big word and sounds easy, and we may think we are empathetic, believe me, I'm the first example of this. We overestimate, most of us, how empathetic we really are. What is our ability to put ourselves in the shoes of others, right? Understand their perspective. And this is interesting because the second reason why the company hired me, they told me later on, it was because after I was invited to the big interview with the owners and human resources, they said that, well, they have this interesting selection process or interview process, that instead of asking me questions to figure out who I was and what I can do, they ask the applicant the question, what do you want to know about us? Go ahead, shoot. Now, I was prepared because I'm interested. And my questions were in the line of, look, what are you looking for this role? It was not about me, it was about them. How do you know that you make a good choice here? What were examples in the past of consultants where you made a great choice, and why was that? What were their qualities? At the same time, when did it go wrong on a hiring process and why? Right? So after those pieces of information were on the table, we had a very honest, transparent conversation about, look, I do have this, I don't have this, I am willing and able to develop these, I need your help on that. And that gave them complete confidence that, look, you got the right attitude and this can work. That wouldn't have been possible if I would have just started talking about all the things that I'm great at and things like that. So empathy is important. Well, how can you start developing more empathy? Really, it is about caring about others. That goes against our nature of being self-oriented. So show interest, start asking questions, invest time, even though it may feel like a cost to you. Invest time in getting to know others, their perceptions, their stakes, their fears, their challenges, their passions, etc., etc. But most importantly, just like with the motivation part, is not what you know, but what you do with that information. If you allow that knowledge that you get from them to influence how you decide and act, then you start really making impact and come across as empathetic and be empathetic. And the most beautiful part about this is that not only you affect others positively, it comes back to you tenfold. It's beautiful to see. So it is really an investment. And well, looking at the time that we have today, that's only how far we can go. However, to walk the talk, I want to practice some self awareness with you guys today. What do I mean by this? I'm going to be showing you a QR code in a second, and that will take you to, with your phone, you can scan it. It will take you to a feedback form where you can rate this session and give me feedback and a testimonial. But most importantly, at the end of it, not only would help me, of course, become more self aware, at the end of it, you will be redirected to a page that I put together for you with a bunch of free resources for your emotional intelligence, workbooks to develop your personal leadership, a self assessment to become much more aware, a course to help you develop that self regulation, and also some free chapters of my book, together with the slides of this keynote and podcast and my TED talk, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, without further ado, I invite you to scan that code. And if it doesn't work, you can still use the link that you see on the right side using that code. It will take you about a minute. And once we're ready, we're going to come back and close together strong. Go ahead. We take 30 more seconds and we come back to close together. Yeah, something happened with the audio, but there it goes again. Interesting. All right. And so if you didn't have enough time to finish the form, don't worry about that, because I'm going to be also in the lounge room. I have a place there, so you can connect with me, come ask questions, but you can also finish it right after we finish the session today. Right now, out of respect for the other people that come after me, let's close together. I also see that there's a question in the chat box that, looking at time, again, out of respect for the other speakers, I will be for at least half an hour in the lounge room. Happy to answer all of those questions. But in a nutshell, one, you can be happy and you can still have mental health. Okay, those are they're not exclusive. Having said that, let's start closing together. And I see all the nice reactions. I appreciate that a lot, guys. Where are we? Here we are. Let's go into the last slide and close together, because I want to finish with this beautiful quote from the great Carl Gustav Jung, such an influential figure in psychology. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Because it is all about what we don't know about ourselves and about life. So taking the time to develop these skills, to challenge yourselves, to become self-aware, to self-regulate, to ask for feedback, and all the things we talked about today, you will lower the level of your unconscious and you become more conscious, more aware of things. It will allow you to make better decisions. And those better decisions will manifest in better relationships, better well-being, for a more sustainably successful career. Having said that, I really want to appreciate each and every one of you. It's been a true pleasure to be able to bring some inspiration to your careers, and I wish you all the best in the years to come. Take care. I'm going to be answering some questions on the room. Unless, Tripti, you'd say there's time and you want to do it here, it's up to you.
Unfortunately, we do not have time here, but yeah, of course, you can meet one at his table in the lounge. But one, thank you so much for bringing up such a beautiful presentation on such a meaningful topic out here today. And I think this is something, sometimes it's underrated and people don't consider about skills like this. But thank you so much for bringing it up for our viewers. I'm pretty sure they enjoyed your session and they have gathered a lot of valuable information from it. So once again, I would really, really like to thank you and appreciate your time for being with us today. Thank you so much, Juan.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Take care, guys.